I haven't done a video like this covering multiple topics in one video. We're going to be talking about how a lot of people have been leaving the Perfect Dark team. Tunic is finally out. Looking forward to that. Probably mostly Hogwarts Legacy because there's a lot on that. Starfield had a decent developer diary, if you will, vidoc or whatever you want to call it. And a new PlayStation studio. That's a thing. They just don't seem to stop momentum. All these happened the past week while I was gone. And I don't know. They're all things that I feel like could have been a video. Go to the description for time codes or look around for chapters. There will be time codes if you're only interested in a few of them. But let's start off with the Perfect Dark situation. The Initiative is a new studio, Microsoft/Xbox, more like Xbox really, made to handle a new game or new games period. And we now know that is a remake or new entry, whatever we are going to call it, of Perfect Dark reimagining. And Perfect Dark, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's good. It's you know, a spy espionage, I think first-person shooter type game. I wish it wasn't first-person shooter. I wish it was third-person. Hopefully that changes over development. I doubt it. But the main thing I wanted to hit is that apparently a great deal of staff have left the project. At least this is coming from insiders, and what is going on is essentially, you know, Glassdoor reviews and whatnot, people that were working on this game and with the Initiative and Xbox or whatever. They're saying that the game's progress just wasn't moving forward. It just wasn't going forward. And while the company focused a lot on like internal and cultural stuff, which is great, they just felt like the game itself just wasn't getting done. And hearing that kind of made me want to briefly mention it more than the amount of people leaving. Because seriously, I'm going to have to pull up my phone for this one. The game director, Dan Newberg, leaving. You have the design director, you have the lead level designer, principal world builder, 2 senior system designers, and a group of 3 people that were on God of War. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of key people that this game has lost over the course of its development of really just the past year. That is not good news. I know there's some people that are like, oh, this is getting blown out of proportion, but is it? I just think it's a fair cause of concern. I'm not saying to blow it out of proportion and be like, oh my God, all of Xbox's studios are screwed, or this game's just gonna fail. But it is cause of alarm for this particular game, because apparently a lot of these, you know, people leaving happened around the same time that they announced Crystal Dynamics, the people that worked on Marvel's Avengers, you know, recent Square Enix game. They were coming in to help the project. That kind of goes alongside with these leaves, because it's like, okay, we're losing a lot of people. We need another studio to come in to make sure we finish this. But the reason I kind of want to bring this up is more so, I admit, I want to relate it to Halo Infinite. There's been another story. A lot of people that have been leaving 343 have been saying somewhat similar things, where it just feels like not much is getting done and the project is moving pretty slowly. There's great people there, there's great talent there, but just in terms of efficiency, it isn't going too well. And that would be 2 studios. And so it makes me think, I wonder if like Matt Booty and the people that are in charge of Xbox Game Studios maybe are too lenient. I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I present this video to you, because I want opinions. I find that consistency interesting of hearing 2 studios and people leaving saying it just felt like not much was getting done, not because of the team, but in terms of the management and, I don't know, goal setting. So that's just interesting. I hope this game is, I don't think it's on track, but hopefully in the end, we still get a great revival of Perfect Dark. On the bright side of Xbox news, we have Tunic. Tunic is an indie game I've been looking forward to. You might have been looking forward to or have heard of. Lots of people have been looking forward to this indie darling Tunic for many years. Apparently the first time it was shown at E3 2017. That's a really long time for an indie game to kind of be in the circuit. And it has finally come. I'm so excited. One of the most anticipated games of the year for me. I've been playing it. I'm actually not disappointed. I've put like a solid maybe 6-ish hours into it, and I'm really enjoying it. So far, review-wise, it's averaging around like 8.5 out of 10 stars, or 10, whatever. It's doing really good. So congrats to the dev team there. It so far seeming like it's a success, and I highly encourage you to check it out because so far for me, it's just a really lo-fi, the video game in terms of its environment and its music. I'm gonna stream it on Twitch today. If you're not following on Twitch, you should do that. There's a plugin, shameless plugin, but it just has this feeling of something I loved about Outer Wilds, which is that you are not sure what's going on. You're just dropped in this game. There's barely any English or dialogue or anything to really grasp. So you are just trying to figure out what this world is, how to navigate it, and there's things that are in front of you. You had no idea were there before. Like you will get pieces of it through these manuals that will tell you certain hints to maybe get. It's just a really fun game on Game Pass. Highly encourage you to check it out. For some reason, people are saying it was like a surprise announcement at the ID Xbox showcase last week. I don't know why they're saying that because we've known that it's coming out on March 16th for the longest time, and we knew it was coming to Game Pass for the longest time. So I don't know why people are saying that. So final piece of Xbox news. This one is just really brief. Starfield also had a big, not big, but just kind of like a little developer diary, if you will, where you had Todd Howard and 3 other core members of the team really reflecting on past Bethesda games and how Starfield, they really wanted to, venture out into the unknown. I highly encourage you watch it. It's only like 5 minutes long. It's really interesting because I think the biggest tidbit I found really interesting and what I've heard other people say, and you might like, is there's a great deal of dialogue options that don't feel like any are right.
We didn't want it to be a system where there was definitely the right thing to say.
And that's something in RPG games that's really important. And they shouldn't ever feel like there's the right answer, there's the wrong answer, there's the good guy, there's the bad guy, you're leaning onto smart versus leaning into compassionate, And they made it sound like we don't want that. We want everything to feel like you, the player, are naturally trying to convince people in a conversation. And that's awesome. That is something completely different from a lot of RPGs, and that's great. And they're using a lot of technology to make the characters feel like real characters. They showed like a thing where they're taking pictures of the actors. This is a next-gen exclusive. I admit, I didn't know that. I don't know if you did, but this is a Series exclusive. It's only going to be on PC and Xbox Series, not on Xbox One. And that gives me high hopes that this will be a very big and nice looking Bethesda game. And that's what they talk about, using these cameras to capture the actors to make them feel like real people, because they want you to feel like you are genuinely in this space RPG. So looks cool and I'm looking forward to it. But what about PlayStation side of things? This morning, they announced a new PlayStation Studio. And it feels like there is just a new PlayStation Studio every month or every other month. Seriously, ever since Bethesda last year, it just feels like here's Housemarque, here's Bluepoint, here's Destiny, here's Bungie. And now, as of this morning, here's Haven. Now, Haven is a new studio. I don't believe they have any game under their belt yet. They just had a partnership with PlayStation announced last year that PlayStation is helping them to release a new IP that will be exclusive to the PlayStation, obviously, in exchange. But now they are just a new first-party studio, period. PlayStation, they have really amped up their response to Xbox's, publisher acquisitions. Back in the day, they were doing what PlayStation did, where they had new studios they were acquiring. And they did. They built up their base Xbox game studios, but then they moved up to getting ZeniMax's studios with Bethesda, and now Activision and Blizzard with all their studios. But it's kind of like PlayStation has been doing the little piece-by-piece situation. It's just one studio at a time, but so damn frequently the past year. But Haven is a new one, and I feel like that brings their studio count to like 20 or something. If it's not 20, it's nearly 20 by now. Between like just Housemarque, Bluepoint, Bungie, Haven, I believe there's another like 2 or 3 studios. They've been on a spree of getting a lot of studios, and I'm very curious about the result of that. But the big topic is Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy was shown last week, and it is really and it's the first time we've seen gameplay for this too. They announced this, I believe, the build-up to the PlayStation 5's release in August 2020. But we haven't seen anything of it since. We haven't heard anything of it since, other than it getting pushed back to 2022. But now we have seen the game super thoroughly. What an intense first showing for a game. This showcase was a solid like 14, 15 minutes of just showing the game, explaining it, what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be seeing, what your options are. And my God, man, it looks like the Harry Potter game of Harry Potter's fans' dreams. You know, like this is it. This isn't some cheap knockoff IP of like one of the movies releasing. This is a genuine Harry Potter game that is, it seems open world to me. They have a bit where they're like, we encourage you to learn how to use your broom to fly around to get faster around the open world. And I'm like, what? Like, that's awesome. You can fly around it and go outside of Hogwarts or back into Hogwarts. I don't know if that's how it works, but it looked like it and it sounded like it. There's a crap ton of spell combat. That's the most shocking thing. Like, if you watched Harry Potter, then you know the spell combat in Harry Potter isn't the most intense. It really doesn't seem like it, at least. There's some cool spells, but it's more so like flick a light, flick a light, flick a light, or just make people move. But this one, they really hammered in a lot of dynamic combos, combinations. It's the same word. But they have so many different variations of things you can do. And even at the school, you can craft certain like potions or creatures and whatnot that can help assist you in battle. And that was one of the elements that really shocked me about this showcase, was just all the various combat you can do. But in the end, it is a genuine year at Hogwarts that you're experiencing. They show all the different classes you can go to, the different classmates you meet. And this being a Hogwarts, they have a behind the scenes as well, where you really can freely explore it. And we've never really gotten that in the movies and the books because we're spectating. But the beauty of a video game is that you get to experience the world instead of spectate it. This is it. This is a genuine Hogwarts school that you get to go around, and there's like certain puzzles with the pictures. I love seeing that, where there's like certain puzzle pictures you solve. Maybe, certain riddles throughout the school that there might be hidden areas that some may have found, some might have not. And there's seasons. That was another thing that was surprising. As it's like a school year, there are seasons that you are working your way through. And I'm curious does that like change what might be in the open world? Is it better to go to certain places at certain times of year? Is it a one-time playthrough, so you're going to have to replay the game to experience something differently? Will that encourage replayability? That element is something they didn't really dive into, and I'm just curious about that. I could go on and on, man. There's so much, and especially this recreational room. They said it's something else, a reconstruction room or something, but there's a room that just straight up, you can make your own like house and animals that you can kind of like Pokemon. There's certain creatures in the world that are corrupted, and you can nurse them back to health and make them good again by, putting them in your pocket of a recreational space that you can change around. I'm just shocked, man. There's so much skill trees, and you pick whatever house. They didn't explain that either. Do you pick whatever house that you go into, or are you sorted into that house based off of maybe how you answer certain questions when the hat's on you? I don't know. All I do know is that this game actually looks a lot more promising than I thought it did. I felt like it's gonna be a game that's gonna let some people down, but after this showcase, it's super promising. So we'll see how it is. Holiday of this year, they had a lot to show, so I believe they will keep that. But then again, that doesn't really stop games from being delayed. The question is, which of these stories did you resonate with most? Do you think there's problems with the Perfect Dark team? Is Tunic a lot of fun to you? Have you been playing it? Hogwarts Legacy, is it really like the Harry Potter game of your dreams, or Harry Potter fans' dreams? Is PlayStation gonna slow down this momentum of new studios and Starfield? Is it gonna be like the best Bethesda RPG yet? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more fun game topics and games to look forward to, then subscribe to the channel.